Welcome to the Deceitful Narrative Studio. The message arrived at 2:47 a.m. She belongs to me now. You can cease feigning your relevance. I was seated in my home office, the luminescence of my phone screen casting light upon a wall adorned with a decade-long marriage certificate, mortgage records, and family snapshots. My wife Clarissa supposedly slept upstairs, under the impression that I held such beliefs. The number didn't appear in my contact list, yet it had surfaced frequently on our monthly phone bill over the past month. There were 37 calls in September alone, along with 62 text messages. His name was Brendan Huxley. At 41 years old, he served a 5-year parole sentence for aggravated assault and fraud, having been married to Felicity and sharing custody of 2 teenage sons. Apparently, he thought his late-night message would shatter me. He had no idea what he had just given me. Allow me to recap 6 weeks prior. Imone Casalano, 43 years old, a structural engineer at a firm designing commercial buildings in the Northeast. A stable job, a respectable income, a life not particularly exciting for conversations at social gatherings. Clarissa and I crossed paths in college, tied the knot at 26, bought our first home at 29. We had routines, Wednesday dinners at her mother's house, Saturday morning trips to the farmer's market, Sunday crosswords with coffee that I brewed too strong and she pretended to appreciate. Signs of strain began in August. She started attending a new gym. Taking fitness seriously, as she put it, which was understandable at 39, then followed wardrobe renovations, then her phone constantly facing down on tables, then the additional shifts at her pharmaceutical sales job that never showed up on her work calendar I could still view from our synced accounts years ago. I'm not typically suspicious by nature. I'm an engineer. I identify problems and collect data before making judgments. So I collected data. Initially, I logged into our mobile account online. The number repeatedly appearing was for a cell phone that had been purchased. 18 months ago, under an unfamiliar name, I traced it using a People search service for a $40 comprehensive report, which is where I encountered Brendan Huxley. The charges for assault were due to a brawl in a bar in 2019 that left a man with a fractured skull. The fraud case involved billing insurance companies for non-existent personal training services. He had served 22 months before being granted parole, with conditions such as regular meetings with his parole officer, maintaining employment, and abstaining from any illegal activities or contacts with known criminals. At Clarissa's new gym, he was a member of the staff, shown in the team photos with an athletic physique and a deliberately casual air that photographed well. His profile touted transforming lives through committed fitness partnerships and listed his certification credentials. Unspoken were the details about the ankle monitor spotted in one of his Instagram photos from 3 months back, or the truth that Felicity, his wife, was unaware her husband was using our house for late-night training sessions when I claimed to be working overtime. Instead, I had been parked 2 blocks away, documenting entry and exit times. I'd set up a small security camera in our garage that activated on motion, which is entirely legal given my ownership of the property. Additionally, I had been receiving copies of every text message from our shared phone account before Clarissa could delete them from her device. By mid-September, I had compiled 43 pages of evidence, printed, organized, dated, and supplemented with photographic proof and timestamps. I sought advice from divorce lawyer Helena Briggs, who specializes in high-asset cases involving infidelity. I shifted 70% of our shared liquid funds into an individual account at another bank legally, from the joint account to one that existed prior to our marriage. Our actions were backed by transaction records. Additionally, I reached out to someone from Brendan's past, Malcolm DeVries, who had been the victim in a 2019 assault case. Using court records, I emailed him cautiously and respectfully, expressing my concern that Brendan might be exhibiting similar harmful behavior. Malcolm consented to speak with me over the phone. He explained that guys like this have a pattern. According to Malcolm, Brendan had a habit of telling women their husbands didn't appreciate them, making them emotionally dependent. When I confronted him about my sister, who was one of his victims, he assaulted me in a parking lot, coming close to killing me. Despite his physical healing, the psychological wounds took longer to mend. However, Malcolm was prepared to offer a statement if required. I expressed my gratitude and added his contact details to my records. At 2:47 a.m., I received a call from Malcolm. In my office, I opened my laptop with Brendan's text as my focus. I emailed Thomas Reinhardt, Brendan's parole officer, using contact details I found on the County Corrections Department website 3 weeks prior. My email was formal, factual, and damaging. Dear Officer Reinhardt, I am writing to bring your attention to inappropriate conduct by Brendan Huxley, who is currently under your supervision. Mr. Huxley has been involved in an extramarital affair with my wife, and tonight he sent me menacing and harassing text messages. Please find attached. One screenshot of the message sent at 2:47 a.m. today. 2 phone records showing 99 calls texts between Mr. Huxley and my wife over a period of 6 weeks. 3 photographic evidence of Mr. Huxley's presence at my residence on multiple occasions. 4 documentation of Mr. Huxley's social media posts, which suggest regular alcohol consumption. 5, a statement from Malcolm DeVries about a similar pattern of behavior. I believe this conduct breaches the conditions of Mr. Huxley's supervision. Regarding Huxley's parole terms, particularly those concerning harassment and upholding lawful conduct, I am ready to cooperate fully with any investigation. Respectfully, Owen K. Zolano. I have enclosed all 17 files for your review. Sent at 2:53 a.m. Next point of contact, Felicity Huxley's Facebook Messenger. Although I haven't communicated with her previously, her profile was public and recent posts depicted family gatherings, her son's basketball games, and celebration photos from last month marking 16 years of marriage. Mrs. Huxley, you may not recognize me, but I believe it is important for you to be aware of your husband's actions. My name is Owen K. Zolano. Over the past 2 months, your husband Brendan has been involved in an affair with my wife Clarissa. Included herein are proof materials such as text messages, photographs, and call logs. I regret having to break this news to you, but it is crucial that you understand the truth about what has transpired while you trusted him. I've notified his parole officer about his inappropriate behavior, which might breach his release terms and include harassment. I apologize for any distress this may cause you and your family. I've sent Owen a separate folder containing 12 crucial files. This was done at 2:58 a.m., my 3rd attempt. I've emailed my attorney Helena Briggs to update her on the new evidence and my readiness to file. I haven't sent it yet, waiting to see how the next 24 hours transpire. Afterward, I retired for the night. Clarissa was asleep on her side, her phone charging on the nightstand. I joined her on the other side of our shared mattress, which we've used for over a decade, and closed my eyes. Surprisingly, I slept well. The morning that followed was reminiscent of a controlled demolition. I woke up at 6:30, made coffee, showered, and by 7:15, Clarissa appeared downstairs in her workout attire, navy leggings, gray tank top with her hair pulled back. Thursday was usually her gym day. 7:20 a.m., she said, grabbing a mug. Her phone vibrated at regular intervals. She cast a quick glance at it, and her demeanor altered completely. All right, I inquired, maintaining an even tone. Just a client matter. She snatched her phone, keys, and gym bag. I'll be back by 9:30. 10 minutes later, I contacted Helena Briggs. Hello, it's Owen, she answered promptly on the second ring. I see you received my draft email. Have you sent the evidence? Every bit of it, the parole officer and her husband. Excellent, that gives us a negotiating edge if she prolongs this. How are you holding up? Composed, I replied, and indeed I was. When should we submit these papers? I can prepare them for tomorrow. Allegations include adultery, misuse of marital funds if she's been indulging him, emotional abuse. In our state, fault still plays a role in property division. With your materials, we are well prepared. Proceed with it. I found myself in a project meeting regarding a hospital expansion in Hartford this afternoon, evaluating structural calculations for a parking garage, having lunch at my desk, turkey sandwich, apple, black coffee, no unusual Thursday. At 2:17 p.m., an unknown number rang on my phone. Mr. K. Zolano, a man's voice, formal tone. This was Thomas Reinhardt, a parole officer with the County Corrections Department. I had received your email earlier today, Officer Reinhardt. He inquired about the details you sent and clarified that this conversation would be part of an official investigation, recorded for documentation. I acknowledged his statement. He led me through the chronology. The moment I first detected the calls, how I'd collected the proof. I detailed the legal security camera footage, the phone records from the accounts I had authorization to access, and the publicly available information regarding Brendan's background. This morning's text message, as Reinhardt stated, qualifies as harassment given his parole conditions. The recurring deceit behind the unannounced late-night visits to your residence while claiming to be working is troubling. Moreover, if Mr. DeVries offers a statement, it corroborates a pattern of predatory actions. Malcolm has agreed to cooperate fully. I request you to attend for a formal statement tomorrow at 10 a.m. Can it be arranged? I will also be present. Lastly, has Mr. Huxley made any threats towards you, specifically physical ones? Although not directly stated, the text message seemed intended to intimidate. For this reason, I am arranging a meeting for compliance with Mr. Huxley tomorrow afternoon. Should further revelations emerge during that meeting, we may initiate parole revocation proceedings. Thank you for bringing this matter to my attention. He ended the call. 4:30 p.m. saw my phone vibrate with a message from Clarissa. We need to discuss something tonight. I agreed. At 6:15 p.m., she arrived home and I noticed her tear-streaked face as I warmed up leftover pasta in the kitchen. Owen, she began shakily, I need to tell you something. I turned off the stove, listened attentively. It turns out I've made a grave error. She chose her words deliberately, not admitting guilt, rather explaining. There's someone at the gym, we grew too close, but it's finished. I ended things today. I'm truly sorry. I want to mend this. I want to repair us. When I mentioned Brendan Huxley, she halted. How did you find out? His parole officer received a detailed report this morning. His wife discovered evidence of the affair and her lawyer will file divorce papers tomorrow, draining the color from her face. Owen, please. A text he sent at 2:47 a.m. was useful. That level of harassment constitutes a parole violation. One, you got a text from him. Her expression showed genuine surprise. I hadn't realized he was planning to do that. It doesn't matter what you knew. What matters is the 99 calls and messages over 6 weeks. It matters that he was in our house, Clarissa, at 7 different times. I care because you've been deceiving me for 2 months while I worked long hours to afford this life we created. Tears were streaming down her face now. I'll do whatever it takes, therapy, counseling, anything you suggest. Please don't take these actions. I've already done them. I retrieved my phone, opened my email, and showed her the sent message to Officer Reinhardt. You can stay here tonight if needed. However, tomorrow you should arrange to find another place. This is my house too, and in the divorce settlement you'll receive your share, but I can't continue living with someone who invited their criminal boyfriend into our home. She grabbed her phone, presumably to call Brendan. I watched as she dialed and saw her face fall when he didn't answer. She tried 3 more times, but there was no response. I implied he was occupied. His parole officer might have queries. She gave me a look that combined anger and despair. You tipped them off. If he'd thought about it, he wouldn't have bothered me at 3 in the morning. He could end up back in prison. She exited the kitchen. I heard her upstairs, drawers opening and closing. After 20 minutes, she returned with a travel bag. She's leaving to her mother's place. That's all right. She halted at the door. Are you really doing this? After 11 years, you're just done? No, I replied. You were the one who made it happen. I'm simply choosing not to feign ignorance about the situation. The door shut behind her. In the morning, I submitted a formal statement to Officer Reinhardt, which took 90 minutes to complete. I brought hard copies of all evidence as physical records are important for official procedures. Helena Briggs was with me as my legal representative. Mr. Huxley appeared for his compliance meeting yesterday afternoon. Officer Reinhardt informed us. He first asserted he didn't send the initial text. Upon presenting him with a screenshot showing his number, he accused you of harassment and argued that your inquiry into his relationship was irrelevant. However, Helena emphasized, it becomes relevant when there's a matter of parole violations. Indeed, recommendations for formal revocation proceedings have been made to the parole board with a hearing set for October 19th. Mr. Casolano may be called as a witness. I will attend. Moreover, there's the issue of suspected insurance fraud involving Mr. Huxley. Upon examining his current employment, it was discovered he'd been charging clients for sessions that the gym's own scheduling system indicates never took place. This matter has been referred to the district attorney's office for possible charges. It hadn't crossed my mind before, but it seems he's repeated the offense. Same unethical actions, merely a new scheme. Reinhardt closed his folder, and by the way, his wife filed for divorce yesterday. Her lawyer contacted the corrections department to seek immunity for her from any legal repercussions of his actions. Helena looked at me, and you mentioned that your wife hasn't filed yet, but she probably will after she receives papers. We exited the building of the corrections department into a bright October morning. On the steps, Helena turned to you. Owen, she said, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've witnessed many wronged spouses. Most of them crave a shout, revenge, and drama. You have meticulously documented everything, remained composed, used the system as intended. That requires discipline. As an engineer, I approach problems systematically. Well, you replied, you just solved this one. The paperwork has been filed since 9 a.m. this morning. She will be served by Monday. Clarissa called 17 times over the weekend and left messages ranging from remorseful to enraged to distraught. You did not respond to any of them. My lawyer cautioned me to route all communication through legal avenues from now on. On a Sunday afternoon, I received a call from Malcolm DeVries. Hello, Owen, it's Malcolm. I wanted you to know. I provided my statement to the parole board regarding Brendan's actions towards my sister. He laid out all the details. They are thoroughly investigating everything. Additionally, he contacted the prosecutors. If they choose to reopen fraud charges, he can testify about Brendan's pattern of behavior. Thank you, Malcolm. That means a lot, I replied. No, thank you. When you initially reached out to me, I didn't expect any progress. Men like Brendan typically escape justice. But you actually made a difference. You documented everything. You used the law. My sister needed that kind of help back then and didn't receive it. So thank you, he replied. After our conversation ended, I sat in my living room, now mine, not ours, reflecting on the past 6 weeks. 1:30 p.m. on October 19th, in a smaller-than-expected hearing room at the county courthouse, I met Helena Briggs. She asked if I was ready. We were about to commence. The room was wood-paneled with fluorescent lights and a table for the parole board panel, as well as seats for witnesses. Brendan, accompanied by a public defender seeming unwilling, sat at the respondent's table. His former gym trainer confidence had given way to the weight of consequences. Our eyes locked from across the room. I had been gathering evidence against him for his past actions, including targeting married women and sending threatening text messages at 3 a.m., which ultimately led to a parole revocation hearing. Officer Reinhardt testified initially, detailing the breaches, harassment, deceit, and off-hours activities that violated his work terms. He presented the phone logs, photos, and timeline provided. Malcolm DeVries followed, outlining the 2019 assault and its context, Brendan's affair with his sister, the alleged confrontation, and the attack that landed Malcolm in intensive care. Subsequently, I was summoned. I moved towards the witness stand, took an oath, and sat down. Commissioner Walsh, a woman around 60, perused my written statement. Mr. Casolano, she said, please recount in your own words the series of events that led to Mr. Huxley's present state. I paused. In late August, I became aware that my wife was unfaithful. Legally, I monitored their relationship via authorized phone records and cameras on my property. At 2:47 a.m. on September 21, Huxley sent me an intimidating text message. The content suggested he perceived our affair as a conquest. I reported this incident to Officer Reinhardt, presented evidence, and fully cooperated with his investigation. Did you have any direct interaction with Mr. Huxley? No, ma'am. To avoid giving him the chance to claim I was an aggressor, I purposefully avoided contact. However, I did inform several parties, his parole officer, his wife, about verifiable facts that they had a right to know. His parole officer needed to be aware of potential violations, and his wife deserved to know about the affair. Commissioner Walsh took note. Mr. Huxley's attorney has proposed that you orchestrated this as retribution, that you're misusing the parole system to penalize him for a personal matter. I maintained my composure. The parole system is in place to ensure that individuals who have committed crimes adhere to their release conditions. Mr. Huxley breached the set conditions. The reprisal argument holds water only if false evidence was concocted. I didn't. Everything I presented was genuine, factual, and substantiated. Brendan's defense attorney stood up. Mr. Casolano, isn't it true that you were planning to divorce your wife before these events occurred, that you used my client as a scapegoat? No, I had no intentions of divorcing until I found out about the affair, but you moved funds from shared accounts. Helena rose to object. Objection, irrelevance. This hearing pertains to parole violations, not divorce court proceedings. Commissioner Walsh nodded. Sustained. Counselor, confine your questions to matters concerning your client's parole status. The defense attorney retreated, defeated. They dismissed me after 5 more minutes of questioning. I resumed my seat and observed as the parole board retired for private discussion for 20 minutes, then reconvened. Commissioner Walsh confronted Brendan directly. Mr. Huxley, you were found guilty of parole violations. In a turn of events, it has been determined that you, Huxley, have breached the conditions of your parole in several instances, including acts of harassment, deceit about your actions and connections with others, and behavior suggesting manipulation and disregard for legal limitations. Your parole is hereby annulled. You will be handed over to custody to complete the rest of your initial sentence, totaling 26 months. Moreover, the district attorney has been alerted of potential fresh fraud allegations, which will be dealt with individually. Brendan's complexion paled upon hearing this. This is absurd. I haven't done anything. The bailiff was already approaching him. Sir, stand up. This is due to your actions. Brendan pointed at you. He destroyed my life because his wife no longer wants him. Officer Reinhardt then spoke from his seat. Mr. Huxley, your wife filed for divorce. Your job terminated you when the fraud investigation surfaced. Mr. Casolano didn't make those decisions. You did. Escorted Brendan out with handcuffs, he persisted in protest as the door shut. Helena tapped my arm, completed total victory. I nodded. Thank you for your presence. You handled the tough part. I merely ensured proper proceedings. We exited under the late October sunshine. My phone pulsed with a message from Clarissa. Heard about the court hearing. Are you content now? No response was given. Helena read my expression. In 3 weeks, divorce is final if she doesn't contest. Given the adultery evidence, she will receive little beyond her legal share of assets. You will keep the house and most savings, leaving no trace. It felt like awakening from a nightmare, I confided, and acknowledging that I get to determine the next chapter. 3 months later, I was back in that home office where I'd received Brendan's text. The divorce was finalized. Clarissa claimed 30% of our shared assets, deemed fair considering she contributed income during our marriage. Last time we spoke, she had relocated to another city and now works at a new pharmaceutical company. We've been out of touch. Brendan remains imprisoned with his trial for fraud still ongoing. His lawyer attempted to broker a plea deal, but the DA declined. In December, Felicity Huxley messaged me through Facebook, expressing gratitude for providing her crucial evidence. She and her sons are managing well and rebuilding their lives. She apologized for any distress I'd experienced, but thanked me for my honesty. I replied briefly, expressing happiness that she and her boys were thriving and acknowledging the truth was important. Malcolm DeVries and I occasionally exchange emails. He testified as a character witness in the fraud trial, where the evidence was substantial. I've also taken up therapy to address everything constructively, not because I'm distraught, but for personal growth. How did you remain composed throughout the ordeal? She inquired during our third session. Anger is noise, I replied. Evidence is signal. I required clarity. On Sundays, I continued to brew strong coffee, solve crossword puzzles, and report to work designing buildings. Yet I now lived with autonomy, no deception, no deceit, no late-night messages from criminals celebrating supposed victories. Brendan's message was intended to shatter me. Instead, it provided the pieces for my reconstruction.